Every time at a council meeting, there's an issue. It was at that time that Tafawa Balewa in 1948 at a council meeting stood up after a lot of hassle and fights, stood up and said that at that council meeting, they are all one. They all understand each other, like what is happening today. But outside that council meeting, that the union is artificial. That was the word of Tafawa Balewa in 1948. And all these issues carried on up to 51, 52, 53. And that was what led when Britain or British, the colonial masters, when they got tired of our wahala, every day fight, fight, fight. Just for you to understand that this ethnicity, religion, and culture did not start today. It has started before all these our leaders. Many, many years ago. From the moment they amalgamated us and the Northern and the Hausa and we can't do like that. So it didn't work. And that was what resulted in the meeting that took them to Lancaster House. When the secretary, as at then, I think it's Littleton, had to call Britain and say, listen, these people are fighting each other. It's like dog and cat. It's like cat and dog. Every day fight, 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 fight as a council meeting. They had to call Britain and say, listen, these people, they don't see eye to eye. Every day is fight. Every day is fight. And that was when they had to call all the regional leaders to Britain. And they had to have a sit down at Lancaster House. And at that conference, they all say what they can. And the British or the Britain understood that, okay, it's obvious. We amalgamated you for what we can get. But it's not working between you guys. From the moment we brought you into that constitution for you people to be representative of your regions, we have been having problem. And that was when they discovered and agreed, unanimous agreement, that Nigeria cannot be one. And that was when they decided, okay, we'll have the Eastern region, have your own law, have your own rules and regulation, according to your culture, give yourself a constitution. The West, according to your culture, your people, and everything, give yourself a constitution. The North, according to your people, your culture, and whatever, give yourself a constitution. And then we will have one head at the top, which is Nigeria. And that was how every region became on its own. They make law according to their people, according to their culture, according to their religion. They made the laws that suits their region. And each region will contribute what they need to contribute to the federal government. And this was how we moved on. And within a short space of time, each region that were fighting each other like mad started to blow up. In the north, you have cotton and cocoa. Cotton and granite. I'm sure most of you will still remember the granite pyramid of the north. You can Google and find out. If you see those pyramids, they are like traveling from one town to the other. And if you see people walking, there's a train track in between the pyramids. The British made it so. As soon as they get that train in between the pyramids, all those trains get loaded and off to Lagos. And from Lagos, they export them down to UK. And they were doing the same thing with every part. And even as they were doing that, every region were growing at their own pace, at a very fast pace, that no African nation can be compared to those three regions. Today, can you compare yourself to Morocco? Can you compare yourself to South Africa? Can you compare yourself to Egypt? And that is how good it was at that time. The only time they started having issue was when they now had to find a premier among themselves. And that is why when you started having issues. But the good thing about having each region on their own with a federal government at the pyramid is that no matter the rubbish that is going on in federal government, that does not affect, or that will not affect the growth of the regions, because nothing changed. Their laws and rules and everything is there. So federal government can blow up. It doesn't matter. And that is where we need to get back to. So that is one of the biggest problems we have. That culture, ethnicity, and religion. I will quickly digress for you to understand how important this thing is. Just recently, in Niger State, if you have been listening to the news, you will hear what happened regarding marrying of about 100 girls. And we had what's the name of this minister fighting the lawmakers in Niger, saying that they cannot marry those children off. And then there was, back and forth. They must marry them. She should be sacked. This one should happen. That one should happen. That is part of the culture I'm talking to you about. You see what you saw, those 100 being married away. Growing up in the North, I am involved with printing. So whenever these people are getting married, I get to print their invitation cards and I get to print their calendars. And sometimes when they bring pictures, at least sometimes I print we print more than 50 calendars in a week for marriages. And I was in the North then. And sometimes when you pick the pictures that you need to use for the wedding calendar, you look at some of the pictures of the girls and you shake your head. Some of them are barely 12 years old. Some of them are barely 11. Some are 13. So you see this marrying off of hundreds that all Nigerians are shouting about. It did not start now. It's been going on for hundreds of years. It's just that because now there's social media and there's all these things, that's why you are hearing it now. This has been happening for donkey years. And that is the culture I'm talking about. If your culture in the East does not allow that, if your culture in the West does not allow that, the culture of the North allows it. If your religion does not allow it, their religion might allow it. Nobody cares about the future of these girls that will be married off. The girls that will be married off, the people that will marry, they will marry them to. If you check it properly, you will hardly find 30% of them working or with a job that they can sustain the wife. And what you need to know is that in 5 years from now, that 100 married to 100 guys will produce over 500 children. So they will all be about 500. The father, the mother, and all the children in another 5 years or 6 years. So you ask yourself, what are the future of the people that were married out? What are the future of the ones that married them? Then what is going to be the future of the children that that union will produce. And then in 5 years, we'll be saying we have bandits. We'll be saying we have bandits and kidnappers and everything. Why would you not have them when you don't have plans for the future? But to cut long story short, as much as I try to make this video short, but it's looking as I'm not winning. To cut long story short, the reason why we are having the problem we are having is because we have decided that Nigeria is indivisible. Nigeria is indissoluble. Can you have a marriage that is not working and sit in that marriage? Is it possible? This is a marriage that at the altar, it is said that for better, for worse. But how many husbands and how many wives stays for better, for worse? Those girls that are being married out, some of them will be in Kule. That is, they are not going out. I have lots of friends that have three wives in the north. Their wives don't work. It is the husband that go out, work, and in the evening, he will bring meat and whatever, he will give it to them. That's what they will cook for the next day. So most of the women don't work. But that is their culture. That is their religion. So you cannot stop that happening. The only way you can stop that happening is for you to have your own religion. Whatever you want to do, do it if your laws and rules allows it. When we had Sharia in the north and everybody was shouting, the remaining Nigerians were shouting that our constitution did not allow for any other religion apart from. But Sharia came up in Zamfara, I believe. What can you do about it? That is their culture. The East, if they remain, have their own constitution, rules and regulation and laws that will guide them according to their culture, believe you me, they will stay hundreds of years without an issue. So the culture, the ethnicity, and the religion, these three things are the one thing that will never allow Nigeria to work. And even if you get a God-sent somebody to be the president of Nigeria, if that person is doing well, or it seems like that person is doing well, believe you me, that person could have done 10 times better if Nigeria is divided into regions. But the reason why we are where we are is because our leaders, they are all benefiting from this rubbish that is going on. The more chaos Nigeria has, the more beneficial it is for our leaders. But one thing I want you to understand is that he who benefits from a rotten system will never be the one to make changes. But the victim of that rotten system are the one to stand up to let that changes happen. For as long as you continue to hope, wait, believe that God will change that situation will never change. And if you must understand, I'll bring it to you. You see, as you're having children, some of us have had kids. Some of us, their children are now 30, 28, 39 and stuff. As you're having children, so are these our leaders having children. As many of us, maybe many of you are unable to train their children. These our leaders are using the Nigerian resources at the expense of its citizens to train their own children. And as I speak to you today, some of their children are already in State House of Assembly. And in few years to come, these are the same children that will be lords over your own children, except you stand up today and say no to all this rubbish that is going on. On this channel, I will do nothing going forward than to emancipate as much as I can from this channel. Because what is the point of a life if you don't have a life? And there are 90% of Nigerians who are helpless. And sometimes you can't blame them. But we need to lift them up. And on this channel, I'll be telling you how we can lift them up for us to achieve what we need to achieve. I've said it. The first thing, there's the second one. But the first one is that culture, ethnicity, and religion. These three things will never make Nigeria work. I'm sure you know what happened with the last administration of Buhari. 8 years of Buhari, all he does is put his own people. Only his own people, House of Fulani, and everybody was talking about Fulanization. I'm sure I'm right. Today we have Tinubu. He chased all the Fulanis and the Hausas away. What did he do? He brings all his Lagos carcass. Not even Western Nigeria. Lagos carcass. He brought them together. We were saying Buhari was picking all those people because those are the people he trusts. Today, Tinubu is picking his own people. We are saying those are the people he trusts. So will it be wrong if an Igbo man gets into that position, chase all the Yoruba out, and then bring his own Igbo people? Whatever Buhari did, Yoruba will condemn it, do their own. When Igbo comes in, the Igbo will condemn what Yoruba did because of our hatred for each other. And then they will build their own. When Igbo goes, Hausa come in, Hausa will destroy what Igbo did, and then they will do their own. For how long? For how long must we continue like this? And if you are waiting for these leaders to make the change, believe you me, that change will never happen. The change has to come off from us, we, the Nigerians. Because the time has come for us to emancipate ourselves from this mental slavery. We will no longer allow the futures. We will no longer allow the future, the dreams and hopes of our young ones to drown in their sorrow. We will no longer allow that to happen. And if we all unite and come together, believe you me, we can take this country back. Both those Nigerians at home and the Nigerians in diaspora. The Nigerians in diaspora, you are over 50 million. I will tell you what you can do to come in order to help to rescue Nigeria from what it is on my subsequent videos. I will want you, if you really think you are up for this challenge, I will need you to subscribe to this channel. And I will need you to share this video because we need as much as possible of like-minded Nigerians who still believe that Nigeria can move forward. I will be ending here, but before I end, for the sake of those in diaspora, I will quickly give you a short story. I met a 76-year-old man, and we get into discussion with him. And for some reason, he opens up. I was looking at him and asking, "Sir, why are you still here at this age?" And he told me he had retired for the past 10, 15 years, that he wanted to go back home. He showed me all the pictures of his home that he had already built and finished. But because of insecurity, for the past 10 years, this man could not go home. He's still here in diaspora. What does it take for our leader or leaders to secure Nigeria? What is the point of you as a Nigerian after you have left Nigeria for over 30 years, 40 years, and the little time that you are supposed to retire back home to enjoy the remaining lives? I wish our Nigerian leaders will come here and live for 10 years. They will understand where I'm coming from. This country is not a country that you want to live and die for the rest of your lives. Those that are British, that are Britain, that are in this country, that don't know any other place, have no option. But we that come from a certain part of the world, you have a second option. And we have to do everything to make sure that we go back there. Not every parent is lucky to have inheritance for their children. Not every parent. A lot of parents hustle through life. To the end, they still can't leave anything for their children. Their children will have to hustle themselves. But the one inheritance that God has given you or has given us is that land. That land, that country you originated from, that is an inheritance for your children. So even if you are not wealthy enough to leave inheritance for your children, that's your country of origin, left in a good state for your children, where your children can thrive without knowing anybody, where there's all amenities for them to thrive. If that's only what you leave for your children, believe you me, you've left inheritance. People like Lord Lugard, people like Littleton, people like Richard, people like Clifford, all these people that write our constitution before independence, those people left their comfort zone, Britain, to go and look for greener pastures. And their efforts and all what they got from Africa and Nigeria back to the UK is what they have used to build what UK is today. So those people left inheritance for their children. What are you going to leave for your own children? And that is why you've got no choice. You've got no choice. Well, you've got choice. I'm sorry to say that. You've got choice. But if we can leave Nigeria in a state like where you are today in diaspora, you would have done your own part. You would have played your own part. And that is the part we all need to play in order to get Nigeria back to where it needs to be. It might look like a daunting task, but believe you me, if we all come together, the people that are stepping on your head, stepping on your children's head, in order to get to wherever they want to get to, believe you me, they are few in numbers. The numbers we've got is more than enough to emancipate ourselves from the clutches of these vultures. And we all have to rise up and make it happen. I'll see you on my next video. Thank you very much, and have a lovely day.